Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 10th meeting of the California Commission on the State of Hate. I'm Russell Roybal, Chair of the Commission. Just a couple of reminders as we get started today. Closed captioning is available for this meeting. The closed captions can be displayed in English or another language, which will allow you to view an automated live transcript of the meeting in another language, including Spanish, Chinese, Korean, and Vietnamese. To display closed captions, please do on your screen, please do the following. Click the button labeled Show Captions at the bottom of your Zoom window. If you'd like to display captions in another language, select the box at the bottom of the window labeled Enable Translation. I'm a little tongue-tied this morning. You will see a window with the heading You've Enabled Translation at the top. Select English as the speaking language and select your preferred language in the second menu, and then click Save. Automated captions in your selected language should start appearing at the bottom of the Zoom window. We will send instructions in Spanish in the chat. To establish a quorum today, let's call the roll. Deputy Director Watts.
Hey, Chair Roybal.
Present.
Vice Chair Salcedo.
Present.
Commissioner Shea.
Present.
Commissioner Cuellar. Commissioner Damsky.
Present.
Commissioner Filer.
Present.
Commissioner Levin.
Present.
Commissioner Sonar. Commissioner Suthers.
Present.
Okay, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Deputy Director Watts. Let's move on to item C, review of the agenda. You may view the agenda by visiting the Commission's website, calcivilrights.ca.gov/Commission on the State of Hate, and clicking on the button labeled Meetings and Agendas. We will send the link to the agenda in the chat as well. To find the Commission's website, you can use any search engine and enter California Commission on the State of Hate, and it will direct you to the main site of the Commission. I'd like to now review the process for public comment. First, this commission is a public body, and an important part of being a public body is hearing from the public. To that end, this meeting is open to the public, and there will be opportunities for public comments throughout the meeting today. To keep an orderly meeting, please make sure to comment only on the agenda item under consideration. If you have comments that are not specifically related to an agenda item, please save your comment for the agenda item titled Public Comment on Items Not on the Agenda. To submit a written public comment, email the Commission at csh@calcivilrights.ca.gov. We will also put that email in the chat. We'll be moderating this channel throughout the meeting. If you submit a written comment that pertains to an agenda item, we will read it aloud or summarize it when the public comment portion of that agenda item is open and before any vote. If the comment is not about a specific agenda item, we will read it aloud or summarize it at the end of the meeting during the agenda item titled Public Comment on Items Not on the Agenda. If you would like to speak at the meeting to deliver your public comment, you will have the opportunity to do so during the public comment portions of the meeting. You may request to speak on an agenda item by raising your hand on Zoom. If you are joining on a computer, you can raise your hand by pressing the raise hand button on the bottom of your screen. If you are on the phone, you can raise your hand by pressing *9. During the public comment portion, we will call on attendees who raise their hands to allow them to unmute and to deliver comments. For anyone joining us in the room in Los Angeles today, you may submit a written comment by emailing us or by writing your comment on a piece of paper and handing it to Shanna Hart, our staff member in the room today. To deliver a verbal comment, please raise your hand and we will unmute the room. In the interest of time, we will limit verbal public comments to 3 minutes per person. Now some changes to the agenda. We are making one change to the agenda today. We will move agenda item 4 and agenda item 5, discussion and election of chair, and discussion and election of vice chair, and agenda item discussion of content of law enforcement training to go after agenda item 7, which is the chair and subcommittees updates and discussions. Agenda item 8, titled Hate Crimes in the US 2023, A Year of Broken Records, will be moved to after agenda item number 3. Now on to approval of the minutes. We will now move on to approval of the minutes from the last commission meeting. We'll then vote on minutes from the last community forum. The minutes from the last meeting are attachment item A. We'll post the link in the chat to download attachment A from the commission's website. Is there any discussion from commissioners on the minutes from the last commission meeting? This is the commission meeting, not the forum.
No questions.
Seeing no discussion, is there any public comment on the minutes from the last commission meeting?
No public comment.
No public comment. Any further discussion? I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the last commission meeting. Commissioner Filer,
I so move.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Vice Chair Salcedo. All those in favor, please call the roll. Alec.
Chair Roybal,
Aye.
Vice Chair Salcedo,
Aye.
Commissioner Shea,
Aye.
Commissioner Cuellar, Commissioner Damsky,
Aye.
Commissioner Filer,
Aye.
Commissioner Levin,
Aye.
Commissioner Sinar, Commissioner Suthers.
Aye.
Okay, we have 7 ayes.
Thank you. That passes. Let's move on to the minutes from the last community forum, which is attachment B. We'll post a link in the chat to download attachment B from the commission's website. Is there any discussion on the minutes from the last community forum? Besides a huge thank you to Commissioners Cuellar and Filer for organizing the last forum, which was great and was in mine and Commissioner Damsky's and Commissioner Levin's place of residence mostly, well, for almost all of us, in San Diego, which was lovely.
Thank you.
Point of order, Chair, is this an opportunity to provide other comments about the forum?
Let's do that after we approve the minutes of the forum, and then Commissioner Damsky, if you have a comment, we'll do that.
Thank you, I will.
Any other discussion? Any public comment on the minutes from the community forum? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes from the community forum?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Damsky. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Suthers. All those in favor, please, Alec, would you please call the roll?
Sure. Chair Roybal,
Aye.
Vice Chair Salcedo,
Aye.
Commissioner Shea,
Aye.
Commissioner Damsky,
Aye.
Commissioner Filer,
Aye.
Commissioner Levin,
Aye.
Commissioner Sinar, Commissioner Suthers.
Aye.
That also has 7 ayes.
Thank you. The minutes from the community forum passed. Commissioner Damsky, did you have a comment?
Yes, I did. I really want to thank our commissioners who organized this forum. As an elected official myself, I'm very aware of the tenor and tone of what happens commonplace in public meetings and how elected officials are often attacked both in those meetings and outside of them. So I really appreciate them shining a light on this issue. And I hope that when we get to the point of revisiting our committees or our subcommittees for the coming year, that we might consider making this issue one that we have a subcommittee to address. Thank you.
Can I make a comment?
Sure, go ahead, Commissioner Filer.
Yes, because I really want to acknowledge that Marquez Equilibria from the Civil Rights Department was incredibly, he really led the charge on this one. And I want to acknowledge the hard work and his insight to doing it down there at the Kroc Center.
Thank you. Thank you, Marquez. I know Marquez is listening, so thank you, Marquez, for all of your work. Let's move on to a report from the Civil Rights Department, which will be delivered today by Deputy Director Becky Monroe.
Thank
Well-
you, Chair Goodall. It is good to see you all today, and I'm going to give a quick update. I'm going to start with an update about California versus Hate. And just as a quick reminder, California versus Hate was created in direct response to the rise in reported hate crimes in California. You are going to be hearing more about that from Commissioner Levin later today. We are a non-emergency hate incident and crime reporting hotline and online portal. People can reach out to us to identify options when they've been targeted for hate and to be connected with culturally competent resources and support. I share that introduction because one of the things we wanted to share today is that you're going to be hearing more details about law enforcement reporting data, and we're going to see a huge increase in hate crimes. Again, you're going to hear more about that from Commissioner Levin. One of the things we do differently at California versus Hate is we are taking reports directly from people who have been targeted for hate or witnessed hate. Again, this data is not intended to be compared directly with law enforcement data, but the trends are just as troubling. And we again have seen, even in California versus Hate, which again is relatively new, if you look at the 3 months since October 7th, we have seen a pretty sharp increase in hate incidents and hate crimes across the board compared to the 3 months previous to that. One of the things that's important to note is that we can identify one factor that is fully responsible for that increase, but we are seeing an increase across the board, which we hope means that people have more of an awareness about how to report and the importance of reporting and getting support if they're targeted for hate. But it's also definitely a call to action for all of us, and I'm particularly grateful that this commission is here and doing the work that you are doing. I also want to note we've got a few new resources that we've created in trying to respond to these needs. One is, I just want to remind everyone, we have a multilingual digital print and radio ad campaign. You can hear about us. If you go onto our website, you'll get community-specific outreach materials. We want partners to know that there are resources for them to reach the communities that are targeted for hate. We just put out some additional materials. One was a one-page infographic that just gives very basic, clear, concise information about what happens when you report. One of the things we hear, and I know the commissioners have heard this as well, people still want to know what does it mean if I've been targeted for a hate incident or a hate crime. So this one-page infographic is intended to help people kind of to demystify the process a bit about reporting and to really explain why, what do you get if you report and how do you help the community and yourself. We have new translations for posters and social media graphics. This is critical to not only reaching the communities who are most targeted, but also sending a very clear message that our resources are indeed for all. So we have new resources that are in Arabic, Bengali, Chinese traditional, Dari, Farsi, Filipino, Gujarati, Hebrew, Hindi, Japanese, Pashto, Russian, Samoan, Tamil, Thai, and Tongan. So we have a huge number of new resources. And again, we are trying to send a very clear message that we want everyone to know they have access to support. If you call to our hotline, you can report in over 200 languages. We've also recently released a kind of a fictional case study that's based on some of the cases we've seen to help people understand what are the services that you can get. What does it look like if you're connected with mental health services or other social services? And we've also got some new sort of backgrounds for folks when they're on Zoom that you can see today, in the hope of getting the word out about California versus Hate. I also want to highlight 2 toolkits that we launched recently. One is for libraries and one is for museums. So I think one of the things that I really appreciate about the commissioners here is that at the same time we are talking about a devastating increase, we are also recognizing that there are people in our state and leaders in our state who are coming together to combat hate. So we have focused both on libraries and museums, which are places where we know people come together across different communities. And we have resources there that again are available on caversushate.org. at the Community Conflict Resolution Unit, which is a newer unit within the Civil Rights Department that does civil rights mediation. We've been doing a lot more outreach with Jewish, Muslim, and Arab American communities across the state. We've also done some recent webinars that were co-sponsored by civil rights and community-based organizations to reach the Jewish and Muslim communities specifically. And we've been doing additional outreach with Arab American organizations as well. And along those lines, in November and December of last year, the Civil Rights Department, my colleague Adam Romero, and I met with the Los Angeles Civil and Human Rights and Equity Department, or LA Civil Rights, and the U.S. Attorney for the Central District of California for 2 separate roundtables with Jewish, Muslim, and Arab American community leaders in LA. And the first meeting we had with Arab American and Muslim leaders, the second with Jewish community leaders. And you could see, and again, this really speaks to the importance of the work you all are doing today. Participants really did appreciate the overview of civil rights enforcement services provided at the local, state, and federal level. Our message is that there is no wrong door. If you are targeted for hate or discrimination and you come to any of our offices, we are working together and we are striving to do more of that. I think that is one thing that I know Commissioner Chen has brought up in the past, is the importance of making sure that as government agencies, we are actually working together so that burden is not falling upon the people that we serve. I also want to note, we're very grateful to our federal partners at the EEOC. There will be an upcoming webinar that CRD is co-hosting with the EEOC called Confronting Bias and Hate in the Workplace, Addressing Anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and Backlash Discrimination. So this webinar will address employee rights and employer responsibilities under both federal and state law. That'll be on February 1st at 12 noon. I want to highlight the leadership of my colleague, Senior Attorney and Mediator Gregory Mann, who is from the Community Conflict Resolution Unit at CRD, and he will join an EEOC Regional Attorney to in conversation with Maha El-Ghamadi, who is the Executive Director of the Islamic Network Group, and Karen Stiller, who is the Senior Director for Jewish Affairs with the Jewish Community Relations Council. Maha El-Ghamadi and Karen Stiller are both speakers from the ING's Interfaith Seekers Bureau. We'll be talking together about addressing discrimination in the workplace and how communities are coming together to combat hate more broadly. So those are just a few updates from the Civil Rights Department. But again, we have the privilege and the sort of honor of hearing from Californians who have the courage when they have been targeted for hate to report. And what I want to say is, time and time again, people are reporting not only to make sure they can get the resources they need, the mental health support, the financial support, legal services, but we are hearing from people who say, even though they know it might be scary to report, to talk about what happened to them, they want to make sure that they can help other people. So they are reporting in order to protect their other people in their communities. So I'm incredibly grateful to you all for your service, and I'm happy to answer questions later. And thank you again, Chair, for the time.
Thank you, Deputy Director Monroe, for that report. I also, Commissioner Filer, I see your hand. I'll get to you in 1 second. I also just want to remind everyone watching or listening to underscore what Deputy Director Monroe said. If you or someone you know is the victim of hate incident or activity, please go online to californiaversushate.org, CAVSHATE.org. We'll put that in the chat, or you may do so via reporting on the phone at 1-833-8-NO-HATE. So just want to make sure that everyone has that, and thank you, Deputy Director Monroe, for your report. Commissioner Filer.
Yes, I just have to thank you, Becky. You know, when your department was put together, I don't think you anticipated what was about to happen in our world. And I think I'm grateful to our state that we had this already in place before the event of October 7th with the terrorist attack on Israel happened, that we had something ready to go and a place for people, all peoples, to be able to report in our state when they were dealing with the unfortunate rise in hate for both the Muslim community and for my community, the Jewish community. So lucky us that this was already in place and ready to go.
Thank you. And I see more questions, and I just wanted to say quickly, thank you, Commissioner Filer, and to Chair Royball's point, just again, you can report anonymously. We are not connected to law enforcement. We know that for many communities who are targeted for hate, that is not a comfortable call to make. You do not, if you call us, we will not call law enforcement unless you ask us to connect you with them. But I just want to make it clear that we are very much open for business, and we can provide support. If you want to learn more about what your legal options are, we will absolutely do that. If you do not want to go down that path, but you still need support, we are able, and we have been connecting people with real resources, with legal services to pursue discrimination claims, with sometimes with mental health services that are in language, with social services, with help in navigating other parts. Again, it's something that I know Commissioner Che has been working on quite a bit. Help navigating some of the systems that people have to navigate when they are targeted for discrimination. So thank you.
Thank you, Director Monroe. Vice Chair Salcedo.
Yes, thank you so much, Chair Roybal. I want to express my appreciation and gratitude to Deputy Monroe for the work and the leadership that she provides to that particular department. But I also want to let the broader public know that we are very lucky that we have this resource in the state of California, and we should utilize it, right? Many of us have been advocating for this to happen, and this is something amazing that we should take advantage of, right? As we know, like the hate crimes against all of our communities continue to increase, and we should be able to get the resources and the support that we need. And this is a great tool, right, for all of us to have access to. So I just want to encourage for all the people to really take advantage of this amazing resource that is being led by Deputy Monroe, Deputy Director Monroe. So thank you again so much for all the work that has been happening with all of this. Appreciate the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. And Vice Chair, just very quickly, the work you lead with Trans Latina is just a perfect example of how we're trying to really make our work centered on the advocates and the leaders who know how to do this work well. So we have been incredibly fortunate to be working very closely with Trans Latina in multiple cases. And it also just highlights the point that you were making. We are seeing a rise in hate against all groups. Hate is interconnected. When we are talking about this increase, it is not just about one community. We are talking about multiple communities that are confronting a rise in different forms of white supremacy and white nationalism that really does affect all communities. And so I'm really grateful for the opportunity to work with you all. And I want to highlight our team, James Williams Jr., who is relatively new and is doing incredible work to combat hate and reach CB community-based organizations, and Chantel Bermudez, who brings such expertise and work to this work. So thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Suthers.
Thank you, Chair Roybal, and I'd like to echo the thanks and congratulations on this to Deputy Director Monroe. As someone who spent 11 years at the LA County Museum of Art, I'd just like to say I'm encouraged that you've got a toolkit that's going out to museums. I would highly recommend that you share this with the American Association of Museums, which I was a member of many, many years. They are like most disciplines in the world. They're a very close-knit community, although they're very global. And I think they would truly benefit from the toolkit that you have if they know that it's available. And just thank you for doing that, because I'm one of those persons who, with all due respect, I have the honor and privilege of traveling around the world. I always visit museums. So it is a place that people still go. I think people still find it a safe space. And I think that's a wonderful opportunity, a wonderful place to put a toolkit in as you go forward.
Thank you. That's a great idea. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Suthers. Commissioner Che, I saw your hand earlier. Did you have a comment?
Well, Yes, I do. And I was going to make this announcement later today. But I think it's worth mentioning here that yesterday was the 1 year anniversary of the Half Moon Bay shooting, followed by the mass shooting in Monterey Park. And while that incident could not necessarily be considered a hate incident, it activated the same systems in terms of getting information and resources that were culturally responsive. And I think Deputy Director Monroe was a key person that I came into contact with because there was so much misinformation about what resources were available. We were talking about a farm worker population that is experiences multiple forms of harm, many of whom were undocumented, and I think that is what I think is driving the work of our subcommittee, which is how do we make sure that every single person in the state of California, regardless of their status, their zip code, their race, faith, that they are not alone, that they have access to resources. And so I just want to thank Becky and the whole team. And I think this is why California is leading on so many different fronts. It's being responsive, it's doing the prevention work, and it's accessing and leveraging our institutions of learning. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Che. And I will just add, Deputy Director Monroe, I'm excited about the library collaborations as a young queer person. It's before the internet. I went to the library to try to find out if access information about the inner struggle I was having. And as someone who still is a proud user of the public library system in my neighborhood in North Park in San Diego, I'm glad to see that those resources will be available there too. Is there any public comment for the Civil Rights Department report?
No public comment.
Thank you. Let's move on then to our next agenda item. And again, on behalf of the entire commission, Deputy Director Monroe, thank you so much for your continued work on California versus hate and your leadership. We appreciate it very much. Let's move on to our next agenda item, which is our informational presentation, Hate Crime in the United States 2023, a year of broken records, from our colleague, Commissioner Brian Levin. Commissioner Levin.
Thank you so much. And let me just renew the compliments to Deputy Director Monroe, who just how the world's a little bit of a circle before we go into the presentation. When I started my career, there was a wonderful counsel at what was then Department of Fair Employment and Housing. And she did so much work in human relations. She became president of Cairo and Noel. Then when Becky was in Washington, she was part of a team that helped with getting legislation passed that would enable states to do this. And then, so we got the player who not only pitched the ball, but then caught it. So thank you so much, Becky, for the wonderful work you do. I would be remiss without just taking a small amount of time to mention that. We are so lucky to have you in our state. And I feel the same way about our commissioners and the CRD in general. If we could go to the next slide, that would be great. And again, the definitions, really important. I do have one thing, though, that I diverge from the commission and the CRD. When just for a memory moniker, I always go 18338 no hate, because it's easier for me to remember. But any way you do it, if you're out there listening, please, please, you are important to us. This is a state where folks care. Again, whether it's a hate crime, a criminal act, or whether it's a bias incident, non-criminal, We really want these reports. And that's, by the way, a deficit with regard to relying strictly on law enforcement data. We need an array of social science data in this. If we could go to the next slide, and that would be great. You know, I did a best practices, and we'll be talking about things as this meeting moves forward and the year moves forward. So we talked about like model policies. That's going to be something that's now required by law. We'll have other people talking about that. But one of the things that the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives found back when I was looking at this best practices back in the late 80s and early 90s was a message from the top. The governor, the human relations commissioner, the school chief, the school superintendent. You get it. It makes a difference. The police chief. So I think this is important. Just give me a second. This is how we roll in this state. And it's different. If you want to look at other states, so there are things connected. Florida, which is attacking African-American history, sociology, erasing people, DEI is being erased. You know, my university won best in the nation for DEI. So this is something I feel very strongly about. We need a message from the top. So I think there's no better way to just quote our governor. Here in California, we are sending an unequivocal message that hate will not be tolerated. Thank you. Thank you so much, Governor Newsom. Let's move to the next slide. Becky was right. Look at this. Now, this is before the records that we saw in 2023. Record in 2022. Remember, there is massive underreporting, particularly in certain communities. BGS showed that in the last part of last decade, we finally had a majority of victims, a slight majority reporting, but that means nothing to a variety of communities who are left out. Immigrant communities, undocumented, disabled, and in many places, others as well. So recognize the limitations. Also, the data that I'm going to show you is preliminary, but I wanted to put it in context, and we can move to the next slide. That's California. But we're counting it. You look at other states, listen to this. Florida counts less hate crime than the city of Boston. Okay, so things are connected. When you start attacking folks and institutions, that's what you have. Florida has the worst record with regard to hate crime reporting, along with Mississippi in the latest available year. Worse than Alabama. Let's move forward. Thank you. This is what California looked like last time around. Look at that. This is before October 7th. This is from 22. Okay, we're going to get to the latest one in a second. Anti-gay male up, anti-Jewish up. Look at that. Anti-lesbian up. All the things that we saw in our city survey. So that's where we were. If we could move forward a little bit. Next slide. Thank you. That's what it looked like if you looked at it as far as not increase, but the different groups that are getting attacked. By the way, there's some we got to say that there's massive underreporting, and I think you'll see that in certain communities, for instance, like anti-Latino, anti-Asian, anti-Muslim. So recognize that there are differentials with reporting. Next slide. This is it. This is the new stuff, and I wanted to unveil it here for you first. Some of this, though, has been in some of the papers, Wall Street Journal, USA Today, Axios, and others. But I'm presenting this for the first time to my colleagues, who I just have such great admiration for. And just let me sneak in. Chair Roybal, you have been nothing short of wonderful. There is a dinner for you coming up, along with money I owe you from the last event that I have to reimburse you for. Anyway, look at this. 2023 in America's 10 largest cities. Now, this is subject to change. The data is preliminary. Some places, for instance, are going to refresh a little bit. But we have enough that we can draw some conclusions here. First of all, top 10 cities, rise 13%, another consecutive record. Just in the top 10 cities alone, just under 2,200 cases. So we have a record for the top 10 cities, and we have a record for anti-Jewish. A larger sample showed a 17% increase. These are going to fluctuate a bit, but it's not good because last year, according to both my research and Cal State's and the FBI's record for 2022, and it looks like we are going to easily break, unfortunately, that record, presuming that reporting rates stay somewhat similar. In other words, if we only have 5% of agencies reporting, then we won't see that. But obviously, we maintain a similar level of reporting. By the way, when nationally hate crime broke a record, it was on declining number of agencies actually participating. So it's even worse. I think our data was actually more accurate because we tended to have a stable base of agencies that we relied on. Anyway, New York, LA, Chicago, Houston, and Austin, Texas, these are all cities in the top 10, all broke records. Anti-Jewish hate crimes rose about 13% in New York, 48% in LA, 10% in Chicago, all to modern records, along with Boston and Philadelphia. We're going to see a bunch of those fall. Anti-Muslim hate crimes also have risen, 22% in New York, 40% in LA, and 300% respectively to multi-year highs. And we'll get to that in a second. Anti-gay hate crimes rose as well. Anti-Black, as you can see, was mixed. Anti-Black is still the most common. These spikes reversed declines that we saw in the first half of the year. New York was down 32%. LA was down. Chicago was down by more than half. 12 of the 14 worst months are in the second half of the year. That's why I don't like the first half year data. Also, while we've seen declines, for instance, in anti-Asian hate crime, I am concerned of a couple of things. One is that we're not getting reports that we would have if people knew there were places to turn to. And back during the height of the pandemic, that word was getting out. So I'm afraid that we're having underreporting in that respect too. The other thing, if you look at when anti-Asian hate crime increased, for instance, last decade, when there are international disputes, when there's issues regarding to immigration that get exploited in politics, we see increases. So do not close the firehouse now. We have to redouble our efforts now. 49% of Americans recently surveyed said that they regarded China as the worst enemy of the United States, et cetera, et cetera. You get the idea. And we're seeing across various states draconian measures to prohibit Asian people and Chinese people from even buying property. I'm not talking about companies or the government. I'm talking about people. So when that gets exploited politically, we see a backlash. So let's go next slide real quick. That's your top 10 cities. I'm going to go, I'm not going to go through all of them, but you heard about the records. I will put this on social media. I'm sure we'll make this available. I'm at Prof Levin on X or whatever the heck is left of it. But I'll post that up. But the most common, this is interesting, for the first time in the top 10 cities, Jews were the most frequent target. New York had more anti-Jewish hate crime than every city's overall total, except for Los Angeles, in the whole country. So the biggest cities drove that, but anti-Black is still the most common nationally. But in the biggest cities, that's what we saw in 2023. Let's go forward real quick. That's some of the other cities as well. You can see San Francisco went up, LA went up, San Diego went up. Let's go forward just because we don't have a lot of time. We're going to push through this, but look at the cities. 2022, we had records broken. So record after record. Next slide. Oh, not whoops, one back. And social media is a cesspool. And we have people on social media, people who own social media companies that are saying prejudiced things. And they are reducing their content moderation staffs. most of them. What you're looking at here is I left out the terms, but they're eliminationist terms about killing Jews and Muslims. Anti-Muslim is there yellow. That's what we've seen in some of the social media searches. So in other words, we need more social science in here, not less. Anyway, let's move on. Here you have, look at this, LA during the fall. There you go. Anti-Jewish, when you combine both crimes and incidents, 197%. Look at anti-Muslim, 650% when you combine them. Terrible, terrible thing. We have to reach out, and this is really important. This is why I'm so glad to work with these pros. There are people experiencing generational grief. And on top of that, they are now feeling physically threatened. That has no place in our state. Let's move on real quick. You can see, look, just the big orange rises. That's all in the fall and in October. This is with respect to anti-Jewish incidents. So just look at that, the big orange. That's your increase in 2023. And you can see we look at 9 cities for the select cities. Then I just took out a couple, LA and New York and San Francisco. There you go. Let's go to the next slide because we don't have a lot of time. This shows anti-Jewish. If you look real close, it was 20 shy of a record last year. We're going to blow through. This is generational highs. This is a modern record that we are going to see when we get the full national data out there. Terrible thing. So that little blue line there, that's going to go up even more. Let's go to the next slide. This shows you, though, a breakdown by month, and you can see when there's conflicts in the if you look at the first big increase and then the second one a little in there, those are when there was violence in the Holy Land. Going out to the next big one, that was in 2018 during a conflictual midterm election. Interesting enough, why did we think it rose? Anti-immigrant rose earlier in the year, and then Jews were blamed for it. Let's move forward. This is something I helped the folks at VOA did. You can see, in fact, I'll provide a link later, but when we have these kind of conflicts in the Middle East, we see a rise in both anti-Jewish and anti-Muslim hate crime. Let's go to anti-Muslim hate crime, I think, in the next slide real quick. What you're going to see, okay, when we come out with data, the record was around 2001, September and October. I don't think we're going to hit it yet, but here's the thing. We have like conflicts and wars going on in every continent going on right now, except for Antarctica. I think we're going to see somewhere between 260 up to over 300. So in other words, somewhere around that other spike that we hit with the Head and Shoulders top around 2016. But the more the conflicts elongate, the more time there is for the kindling of hate, the dry kindling. Let's move to another slide. Anti-Muslim. By the way, we have real difficulties. Some cities we're not picking these things up. Don't think because the thermometer is broken that things aren't red hot, and we know that. I can tell you from our research later on, I'll be making some presentations in LA and San Diego in the next couple of weeks. Go to them. I'll talk more about it. But underreporting, particularly in certain communities, and I think the Muslim and Arab community are certainly one of them. Asian American community, immigrant, and others. So I try to get kind of a representative sampling here of what we've been seeing. But remember, these numbers are really reflective of trends. They are not. When it comes to volume, they're not going to be accurate because so many people are living this in the shadows, and that is why what Becky helped helped us get the legislation passed, federally. So we really have just great people working on this. Next slide real quick. Last thing, we have wars and an election year and all kinds of terrible things going on about immigration. I don't have to tell the people sitting here, but what I wanted to show you is every election year, I said this earlier, every election year we had an increase, but also on the other side there, what I'd like to show you is that hate online goes up in lockstep around election years. Look at that, where the red and blue appear to combine. Next slide, I think we'll look to. There we go. Yeah. So here's where we broke down various times. You can see election time in 2016. Look at that increase. That the day after election 2016, worst day in 13 years. But as in closing, when you have leaders, and by the way, I'm the only independent, I think, on the commission. That's okay, because this is not a political thing. When President Bush spoke of tolerance towards Muslim and Arab Americans, hate crimes dropped the very next day and 2/3 into the next year. So this kind of leadership makes a difference. It requires all of us. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you to every commissioner here and elsewhere, and also to the Civil Rights Department. One thing that I hope is in the next year that we can increase this kind of great coordination with the commission and the CRD, who has done just such spectacular work in getting us off the ground. Thank you so much. I'll take any questions, and I'm happy, by the way, if people want to ask me later, just follow me on social media. I'll answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Commissioner Levin. Commissioner Filer. You're on mute, Commissioner Filer.
Thank you. Forgot I muted to be to not be coughing through a lot of this. Commissioner Levin, comment and a question. One is, thank you for bringing up the re-trauma that is happening in many communities. I know myself, being the child of Holocaust survivors right now, what is going on in Israel is activating psychologically a lot of trauma for myself, and I think that's reflected in my community in general. So thank you for acknowledging that. I have a question, though, that has to do with the internet and organizations and people buying opportunities to promote hate, and that there's a lot of it's kind of a surge that happens where I don't know how you separate this out, where there are organizations that are buying and promoting hate and doing it massively versus individuals. Are you able to see that and separate that out?
Great question. There's a wonderful researcher who's now at SPLC who looked at the monetary component to this. But let me just say this. I think we have folks who are gaining some kind of political currency by promoting division. Another thing that is going to be a big problem going forward, AI. Look at what happened in New Hampshire, where Joe Biden was calling people, telling them not to vote, except it was a deep fake. It wasn't him. So
Right.
We're also seeing increases from international entities, including governments. 2016 election, give you an example. Russia paid for 3,517 Facebook posts that were divisive, many of them racially divisive, attacking Kamala Harris's race, and that she wasn't really black, and doing all kinds of divisive stuff. So what I'm saying to you is, it's not only organizations, it's also individuals, and it's also governments that seek to foment discord here in the United States. That is small, but it is growing, and keep your eye on it during an election year, right? Like, in other words, like I tell the Eagles fans, right? Wait till the end of the season, because it's going to get worse. Thank you for that question. And by the way, just one thing. this is important as a commissioner to commissioner. I stand with you, and I stand for religious liberty and freedom for all faith communities in California. And I want to make that clear. When I was appointed, there was a DC think tank that said California should be terrorized, that I'm here. And I called them up and I wrote to them. They said, shame on you when we're seeing houses of worship being targeted in California. The first Monday of the year, we had 100 bomb threats to Jewish institutions. We also have been seeing issues relating to Muslim and Arab cultural institutions. This is something where we all stand together, and I thank you for that opportunity.
Thank you.
Commissioner Damsky.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioner Levin. That was eye-opening as always. My question to you is, as we learned a lot during our past year working together as a commission, working to improve reporting of hate crime statistics is going to make these numbers go up as reporting happens across the board. And we talk a lot about what we're doing here in California to encourage reporting, and I don't know what other states might be doing. My question is, at what point do these two trends cross where reported events and which are going to keep rising as more people reporting, and events that are actually happening, is there any research being done on that intersection where we will actually have true numbers of what's going on with hate crimes across the country? I'd really love to hear your input on that.
Yeah, really interesting. So we have two ways that we count crime in the United States. One is through the FBI Uniform Crime Report. We're now looking at approximately 10 to 12,000, right? But when you look at the victimization surveys, this is why what Stop AAPI Hate did and what SPLC did with getting victimizations in there that may not be reported to police, it's incredible. So on the one hand, FBI says about 10 to 12,000 hate crimes annually in the United States, right? You look at BGS and their data is old from 2019. They're saying 1% of violent crimes in the United States are hate crimes, and they're talking about hundreds of thousands. So that's the gap, a 95% gap, a 90% gap. I do think, though, and I think this is important, when you look at the reporting here in California, I think some of it is due to the fact that we have better efforts by DOJ and the Attorney General and a CRD and the variety of wonderful advocacy groups. It's key that we serve as a hub for these folks. And we are not even close. That's why we have to redouble our efforts, not only for groups like California versus Hate, but for particular advocacy groups that pick these up. Because bottom line is we are nowhere near closing that gap. But what we can answer is, what are the trends? Who's being attacked? Where are they being attacked? How they're being attacked? And then that's why we have to use this data to meet people where they are. And that's why we couldn't just have a commission of nerds. We had to have commissions that had nerds who had human relations backgrounds, and then other people who had grassroots activity and things like that. But we're nowhere near that. But look for the next BJS, Bureau of Justice Statistics report, when it comes out. And one last thing that's so important about what all of us here are doing is so important. We don't know what's going to happen in the next election. And California might be by default not only a model to help out our residents, but also for other places as the threats go locally and regionally, right? It's not going to just be like an attack on an insurrection. We're talking about local communities, school boards, libraries. Talk about libraries. Look what's happening in some of those places. So what I'm saying to you is it's vastly important that we reach people where they are, and we rely on all social science data, but closing that gap, nowhere close.
Running a little short on time, so let's move to Damon Brown from the Department of Justice, and then we'll move to public comment.
Good morning, and my comments will be brief. One, Commissioner Lovener, that was a fantastic presentation. And I'm curious in where you see this going in terms of addressing some of the groups in particular that were highlighted in your presentation. I know there are strategies being employed generally to address hate because they're common threads that are, experienced by all groups. But as we do see the pervasiveness of high numbers and anti-Jewish bias events and crimes, anti-Black events have consistently been at the top of the list. You mentioned the correlation between international events and a lot of hate crimes that are committed against particular communities, and we saw that with the anti-Asian events. And you noted, as appropriately so, that the foot should not be taken off the gas pedal just because you do see those incidental decreases in crimes. With that same mentality, is there a way that this commission and all of those of us who are working together with our office and CRD to come up with strategies that will identify ways to hopefully improve outcomes based on some of the nuances that these communities in particular are facing, not just sort of a one-size-fits-all approach to all groups? I think there could be ways through mapping, as you suggested, and other techniques and methods to figure out ways to address these pervasive disparities amongst individualized groups.
Thank you so much. And it's very difficult now because, things are so fraught now that we have folks that we could get together with a phone call who now aren't speaking to each other. So there is a unique place for a commission like ours, the Attorney General's office, the CRD, to be a safe place where advocacy groups can get together. And we, again, I'll tell you something, we have a lot of practical knowledge on what to do. What we have to do is reach out to these communities consistently. And when I mean all communities, and have this. There's one thing. Thank you, and I'll make this short. We know what to do. Right? They call the hotline or they report to another agency. What we have to do is redouble our efforts to reach out. Certainly through advocacy groups, they're really important, but also in other spaces as well. And I think the way that we do that is, again, like A.G. Bonta, who went across the state. He went to Anaheim. He went to Riverside. He went all over the state. We have to redouble those efforts and to let folks know that the institutions which hold us together communally also regard the grief. Meet people where they are. There is such generational grief going on. When I talk to these audiences, oh my God, Muslim people are scared to death. Jewish people are scared to death, and they're hurting. And we have to make those kinds of places possible. So keep up doing what you're doing is what I would say. And once we get those calls, we have the mechanisms, but we have to reach out to communities, many of whom are suffering in silence. And in particular, now, just because I'm worried, do not take your foot off the brakes with regard to, we see kind of a rotation sometimes. Anti-Jewish went down in 2020, then it went up. So what I'm saying is we have these rotations that take place. It's really important that we keep the focus on all these communities that are not only hurting now, but may experience resurgences in the future because the dry kindling is there. Don't kid yourself. When we see declines with some communities, anti-Arab went down last year. It ain't going up this year. So we have to keep, whether it's Asian American community or whether it's a variety of communities that might not be on the front pages now with regard to violent prejudice, to recognize how quick that those wildfires can switch course. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Levin. Let's move to public comment. Monica, do we have public comment?
Yeah, we have 3 people raising their hand. Gustavo Guerra.
Gustavo, welcome. You have 3 minutes.
Good morning. I work for the U.S. Department of Justice's Community Relations Service now, and I'm glad to see a lot of friends and continuing and coming back to the work. I led the team that did the hate crime reporting, prevention, and intervention work for LA County. So I'm glad to see a lot of new friends and also friends who we collaborated with. I want to make sure that I use my time wisely. So I want to talk a little bit about how we're adding to the infrastructure in the state, the wonderful work that is being done by California versus Hate. We're going to be hosting a series of 5 hate crime forums in the inland counties, Riverside and San Bernardino counties over the next year, starting with Riverside on May 25th with the Civil Rights Institute, LULAC, and the NAACP. Another thing that we have going on is that we're going to have a Spanish language hate crimes forum with the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Central District on April 17th at 6:30 p.m. Spanish language, specifically catering to the communities that speak Spanish, and we're looking for translation into English and sign language. I want to, as a social scientist that worked on qualitative instead of quantitative, I wanted to ask Commissioner Levin if he could also speak about which communities, and we can take this conversation offline, are reporting more and which communities are reporting less, if there's any work on that, as well as the intersectionality of communities that are targeted. So when we were doing the hate crime report in LA County, we talked about how women of color, and specifically Black and undocumented women of color, would not report, even though they were the most targeted. So I was wondering whether there was any data on that, because if you are a disabled, for example, disabled undocumented trans woman, you might not be as prone to report as somebody who is from a different community. And I'm not sure how much time I have left, but I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Gustavo. Let's move to the next public comment.
It looks like the next public comment is from Marjorie's iPhone.
Welcome. You have 3 minutes. Marjorie, are you there?
Is this working now? Sorry, is this
Yes,
working
go
now?
ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. My name is Marjorie Hill. I'm the executive director of Muslim Anti-Racism Collaborative. We're a human rights education organization. And while our work is national, I'm a resident of Chino Hills, California, lifelong California resident. And I'm also a part of a partnership of 50 national Muslim organizations, the American Muslim Coalition. And I think, like, given with all of the tensions with our communities, and I want to uplift and acknowledge the generational pain that everyone, that especially the Jewish and Palestinian communities are experiencing. As an African-American Muslim woman, I'm part of the 3 groups that are most targeted for hate crimes. And there was even a tangible threat where my daughter was doxxed. Her father's address was shown. So I've received a lot of online hate just for supporting ceasefire or uplifting Palestinians or human beings and deserve rights. My concern is that, not to say a concern, but recently Farhan Latif, the president of Al Hibri Foundation, had mentioned during one of the marches that there were 7 reports of like people feeling afraid about the march. But yet the marchers who are also, when we come out, like, they're targeted for hate crimes. And given the intersections of like how hate is an interplay, is like when you have state policies, media discourses, which dehumanize Muslims and Arabs, that with this interplay, and when law enforcement is also targeting us as looking at us as suspects, so specifically around terrorism and as potential like hate crimes, that these kind of discourses that it really are college students and organizers who are, whether they're calling for peace or for a ceasefire, that they're now in the crosshairs of law enforcement investigations. So is there a way that we can begin to address that, where one, our community is less likely to go to law enforcement and say, hey, we're going to do this action, but we don't feel safe, because we've had our students being verbally accosted and threatened, like, for example, in the University of Irvine, with faculty targeting them. But our community has a fear of law enforcement, given that we're mapped by DHS and everything. So I just want to kind of acknowledge some of the challenges that our communities face, and but also some of the concerns around weaponized people feeling uncomfortable and reporting that as a hate crime, and possibly targeting individuals of our communities for doing things that are not at all criminal and not actions of hate. Thank you.
Thank you, Marguerite, for your comments and for your work.
Could I just interject real quick?
We're
you
gonna
look
get through- Commissioner Liver, we're going to get through all the public
Oh,
comment.
sorry.
Back to the commissioners.
No, there's
public
decent
comment.
research. Thank you for bringing that up, Marguerite.
Monica, is there another public comment?
Yes, it looks like Lowly.
Hi, welcome. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, how are you? My name is Iole Flamaritas. I'm with the Violence and Equality and Power Lab at the Kroc Institute, where you had your commission meeting last December. We were very happy to host you. Hello. I wanted to throw our support behind Commissioner Dansky's suggestion to have a subcommittee on public meeting conduct, and to highlight that KPBS is also looking at incivility at public meetings as well. It's an early effort that they are undertaking with advice from our research manager at the Kroc Institute. We also wanted to highlight that we will be conducting the second of our annual surveys, the first one of which we reported to you last December. The second survey just went out yesterday to elected officials in Imperial, Riverside, and San Diego counties. It will be open for a month, after which we will be collecting the same information we collected last year. This time also trying to understand the perceptions of threats and harassment, as well as the actual state of threats and harassment towards local elected officials. We'd be very happy to brief you again further down the road on this, but I think it ties in very well to Commissioner Levin's work on hate crimes. As we know, we see a lot of threats and harassment towards marginalized and minoritized communities in public office. So I think that would segue very nicely with his work as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Iole, and thank you for hosting the Commission Community Forum last month. I know we have a public comment. Shanna, I think you have your hand raised. You have a public comment in Los Angeles. Are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, you have 3 minutes. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair Roybal. I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to attend today's meeting. It's good to see some familiar faces. I just wanted to tip my hat to the commissioner.
Oh, I think we lost Los Angeles.
There is another public comment with someone with their hand raised.
I see a note in the chat for Mark Solomons. Is that who was just talking in LA, or is there?
I don't think so. I see a hand raised for Gustavo Gasca. It's just different Gustavo.
Let's go ahead and move to that then, and while we figure out what's happening with Los Angeles.
Okay.
Gustavo, welcome. You have 3 minutes.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Gustavo Gasca Gomez with the Education and Leadership Foundation based in Fresno, California, serving the Central Valley and traditionally serving undocumented students pursuing higher education. First, I want to express my gratitude to each and every one of you, Commissioner, for elevating the voice of undocumented individuals. Me, myself, being a DACA recipient and undocumented, feel very empowered and emboldened and listened to and heard, especially in these times where the national rhetoric surrounding immigration has become incredibly hostile and incredibly dehumanizing. So I want to express my gratitude for that. And if there is ever an opportunity to collaborate and to reach out to the Central Valley, please reach out to me. My email, ggaska@education-leadership.org, because I would love to have your support, and I would love to be able to reach our constituents better, considering how conservative the Central Valley is. Thank you again for all your time and all of the work that you are actively engaged in.
Thank you, Gustavo, and thank you for your work. If you will please email the commission email address, which is chscsh at, we'll put it in the chat, at calcivilrights.ca.gov, so that we can have your information. Our subcommittee on, and I'll just draw this attention to our subcommittee on community forums. One of the things that we would like to do with this next round of them is to place them not in the major urban centers of our state, but in places like the Valley. So please send that information. I'd like to now go back to Los Angeles. I think, are you there?
Hi, this is Michael Brown. Can you hear us in Los Angeles?
Yes. Welcome, Michael. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Michael Brown. I'm with the Department of Homeland Security Center for Prevention Programs and Partnerships. It's great to see some familiar faces today. And I just wanted to tip my hat to this great commission of leaders who are really elevating an important issue here, as well as a tip of the hat to Deputy Director Monroe for the fantastic work at California versus Hate. We at the Center of Prevention Programs and Partnerships at the Department of Homeland Security are really focused on addressing the root cause of violence well upstream, not in a traditional protection of infrastructure perspective, but really getting to the root cause. And by doing so, we're looking at a public health informed approach to violence prevention, looking at addressing issues like primary prevention, which is the awareness of the issue, secondary prevention, which is intervention, and tertiary prevention, which is rehabilitation of those who may have perpetrated an act. The reason why I wanted to mention this today is because there are some states across the country that we're seeing that have published preventing targeted violence strategies, specifically in Hawaii, Illinois, and New York. They have published strategies, and we in CP3, the Center for Prevention Programs and Partnerships, are offering consultative support to states interested in elevating this issue nationwide. And I just wanted to offer myself as a local resource, and I have a colleague, Noel Lapana, up in Sacramento, to work with state agencies to include this commission as well, to stitch together the great work that's already happening. Obviously, the great work of Becky Monroe and Cal Civil Rights Division is doing a tremendous work, and we want to be able to provide what we're learning from states around the country to the commission to help stitch this work together, and we stand available to support in any way possible. So thank you for the opportunity to be here today, and tip of the hat to this great commission that really is forward-leaning as one of the leading states across the United States, taking this issue head on. Over.
Thank you. Thank you for your comment. We'll now go to Mark Solomons. Mark, can you hear us?
Thank you. Can you hear me?
You have 3 minutes, Mark.
3 minutes. I'll take less than that. I had tried to comment on Becky Monroe's summary. I want to speak as a person who's been involved in United Against Hate Week, and in fact was the recipient of anti-Semitic, anti-gay, anti-Black Zoom bombing on November 1st when I received a resolution in Fairfax. And it was very traumatizing to have these words hurled at the audience, at the council, and at me. And I did report. I get to be a person who has used the reporting system. And yesterday I had a one-on-one meeting with a Jewish chaplain, a Jewish spiritual advisor. After reporting, I think November 12th, it took quite a bit of time to get connected to the mental health support. And I found it incredibly valuable. I was a little bit uncertain as to what would happen, but the conversation has been very supportive. I look forward to a second session to process these kinds of incidents, and particularly for me, as someone who's involved in this work. I'm not just an individual in the community. And in the end, the real statement that I said was, as we all know, we are born not hating people. Hate is learned. And I think, Commissioner Levin, you spoke to the online problem which we have. And somehow we have got to be leaders here in this state to regulate and moderate and get those moderators back in all the social media platforms. The hate is being spread from those people who've learned it somehow. And hopefully we'll also have more education through ethnic studies curriculums that will help prevent from the beginning. I also should identify myself as a member of NOAA Marin, Name, Oppose, and Abolish Hate in Marin County. That's where I'm calling from. And we are very lucky, as we've all said, to have this work and this commission and the leadership. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mark, and thank you for your work. And we will definitely pass that feedback on to Deputy Director Monroe. Thank you, everyone, for your public comments. I just want to go back to the commission to see if there are any further conversations, and of course, to thank our colleague, Commissioner Levin, for his brilliant presentation and educating us as he does at most of our commission meetings by having us go through the data and understand the impacts these issues are having in our state. So thank you, Commissioner Levin, and I just wanted to open it up to any of the commissioners before we move to the next agenda item. Commissioner, Vice Chair Salcedo.
Thank you so much, Chair Roybal. I just want to express my gratitude and appreciation to all the people who submitted public comment. I think it's important for all of us to understand that this is a collective effort, right? And that the work needs to happen multidimensionally, right? And I'm really grateful that we have more people that are courageous enough to come to this meeting and provide public comment for all of us to continue to learn together and understand what we can collectively do to better the livelihood of all of our people. So I just want to really express my gratitude and appreciation to not just people who provided public comment, but again, all of us collectively for the work that we are doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vice Chair Salcedo. Commissioner Levin, I want to give you the last word before we move to the next agenda item.
And let me make it a real quick last word, but I want to be responsive. First of all, Marin, Marin folks have contacted me from early on. Kudos for the job you're doing on no hate in Marin. With regard, I believe it was Margaret, real quick, on dehumanization, Google Hussein Ibish, a dear friend. He was on my old board because I'm not with the university anymore. Did a beautiful thing. Hussein Ibish, CBS Sunday Morning. Google it. Talks about dehumanization of Palestinians and Jewish folks. Beautiful thing. Pew, you were talking about with respect to folks who are Muslim who don't want to report. Pew 2017 did a survey. Terrifying. 20% of folks said that they were singled out, Muslim folks singled out and targeted, 20% with regard to TSA. And then another 10% said that they were targeted by law enforcement. So this is a problem. Also, you talk about African-American community. I believe it was a CBS poll. 55% of African-Americans hesitate to call law enforcement. Also, real quick, Arab American Institute. I know it's not exactly coextensive with Islam, got it. But they have wonderful resources with regard to hate. They've been a leader nationally. Pleasure to have worked with them on getting some of this legislation passed. And our friends at MPAC, they have videos up from their last conference. I would look through some of those, just as some resources. Lastly, a book that I had the pleasure of working on, Islam and Islamophobia, Oxford Press, talks about all different approaches, not just the criminological. So just wanted to get those out for our concerned citizens. And again, with respect to Marin, keep up the great work.
Thank you, Commissioner Levin. Let's move on to the next item on our agenda, which is chair and subcommittee updates and discussion. As we get to that, I want to welcome Commissioner Cuellar. I know you've been on for a while, Commissioner Cuellar, but glad to have you with us. So some exciting news that the commissioners got news over close to the end of the year, just before the new year, that we are thrilled to share that the commission's report is now available for viewing on the commission's website at calcivilrights.ca.gov/commission on the state of hate. You can also enter California Commission on the State of Hate in any search engine to get to the website. It's also posted in the chat. So thank you everyone for your patience as we waited for the report to make its way through the state approval process. But it is up now. I encourage you to go there and to read it. It will look familiar to you. And I am happy to report that the Civil Rights Department staff has already begun work on the next iteration of the report, and we'll have more info on that at a future commission meeting. Also, as a reminder, we are rescheduling the February and March commission meetings. The February meeting is now set for Thursday, February 22nd at 9 a.m. Pacific. It was previously scheduled for February 28th. So it has moved a week or earlier or 6 days earlier to Thursday, February 22nd. Also, the March meeting will now take place on Wednesday, March 20th. It was previously scheduled for the week after on March 27th. Again, it will take place at 9 a.m. Pacific time. As always, if you require a disability-related accommodation, modification of policies, or procedures to participate in any meeting of the commission or language interpretation, please make a request as soon as possible or at least 5 business days before the meeting. Instructions for making this request are provided in each meeting notice, and those come out 10 days before the commission meeting. If you have not, you may sign up to get alerts from the commission. Again, you can go to the commission's website for that. Let's move on to our first subcommittee report, the Subcommittee on Data and Research. Commissioner Levin, anything further from you on that? Commissioner Levin, you're on mute.
Thank you. Just real briefly, because I already took up a lot of time. There are several projects, more than several, that we're looking into, including some Williams Institute. I've followed them, admired them for a long time. They're working on hate against transgender people. We're working with CHIS, the California Health Informational Survey folks, to get an idea of victimizations, things that we were talking about before. And just, you know what? I'm glad we have sociologists on board, because we're not going to understand this without them. So look at that. We're also looking at other projects relating to the role of the criminal justice system in hate. We're looking at some really important literature reviews across the research spectrum with other institutions. So there's a lot going on. And because she's not here, I got to tell you this, because she won't be able to stop me. Commissioner Sinar is a gem. And we are so lucky to, if you look at all the different subcommittees, the talent that we have. And all I can say is, Commissioner Sinar, feel better. We admire you so much. And thank you for the wonderful work that you've been doing with this really important subcommittee. So we're trying to expand beyond just law enforcement to social science. And lastly, now that we have in the state, supposedly, data that will be released monthly, I hope to work well with Alec, who is just indefatigable. Bless you, Alec. I mean, I don't know how the heck he does it, frankly. so that we can have even more timely data. So that's where we're at, a bunch of research projects. We're looking at victimizations, we're looking at literature reviews, but we're also hopefully we'll be trying to take, and it depends on the quality of data that actually gets out to the public from these agencies. And of course, one of the things that I'm going to continue to do with this subcommittee is bringing work of advocacy groups whose work is so important into this frame as well. So really excited. Excited in the way that when, I don't know if any of you go to California Adventure, when the roller coaster starts going up, a lot of research that we're working on, just we're fastening our seatbelts. That's all, because there's such a need for it. And just for the people in the state of California, I want you to know, there are some states that when it comes to public health, they do away with COVID research, or they do away with DEI. We get the best minds and also the biggest hearts to work on this. And I just wanted to thank everyone who's involved with the subcommittee, especially the folks from CRD. And thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Levin. You are referring to what is called the Incredicoaster at California Adventure.
They changed the name, you're right.
It is a fun ride. So thank you for your report. Let's move on to the subcommittee on policy recommendations and best practices in other jurisdictions. Commissioner Che.
Thank you, Chair Roybal. So we have one agenda item that we are actually seeking input from our fellow commissioners, and I'm reporting on behalf of myself and Commissioner Cuellar. Welcome. So this was an agenda item on non-member advisors, and we raised this very, very briefly at our last meeting in San Diego. But at this time, we'd actually like to spend a few more minutes just asking for input from our commissioners on the potential role of non-member advisors. But before I do that, I want to just remind our commissioners that we as a body are essentially serving in that capacity. We were nominated, appointed, selected as advisors to the governor's office, or the governor and his office, and state agencies. And as you know, we work very closely with the California Civil Rights Department. And so we, as a body, serve in that capacity. I'd also like to just remind everyone that we have in place a very robust set of practices that allows for us to have meaningful input. As we observed today, we allow public comment in our community forums and in our meetings. We have a plethora of research, including through our data and research subcommittee, as well as our committee on policy and best practices, where we are actually interviewing community-based organizations that are closest to the issues and problems and experts. We also continue to receive inquiries and through our CSH at Civil Rights or Cal Civil Rights email to encourage community members to contact our staff, who are very responsive. And of course, we have ad hoc meetings with community-based organizations upon request as a result of those contacts. And then finally, I think it's important to note that I think many of us have experiences with serving as advisors in various government entities, as well as with nonprofits that we can draw from. And I think what we all want is for there to be meaningful opportunities for input. We also want to manage expectations about what we can, what we're best positioned to lead on as a commission. So with those parameters and guidelines, we'd just like to open it up to hear from fellow commissioners on your thoughts. And Chair Roybal, if you want to manage that input, I'm happy to turn it back over to you.
Sure, I'm happy to facilitate the conversation. Vice Chair Salcedo, I see you have your hand.
I am so sorry. This is a no hand. Failed to put it down. But
Okay.
I'll comment a little later. Thanks.
Sure. Other commissioners responding to Commissioner Che's question or query. Thoughts? Commissioner Suthers.
Thank you, Chair Robo. Thank you very much. And Commissioner Che, again, thank you for the presentation and the opportunity. I am regularly approached by academic colleagues on faculty and subject matter experts in the space that have volunteered to support us in their capacity with regards to their expertise as we address hate. So I would, if we are entertaining moving forward with advisors, I can probably start that list for you because since I've been a commissioner, unsolicited people have come to me and said, if there's any way I can help you, let us know. People who I work with, of course, with ADL and other organizations like that, but also academics in the area who are teaching in this space as it relates to extremist violence and other disciplines that are similar. So I don't think we'll have to advertise for this, but I do want you to know that I've had the fortune of having people come and say, love to participate, would love to contribute. And these are people that in most cases are publishing as well, which would probably add to our annual report as it relates to that. But they might be very valuable resources on some of our subcommittees going forward.
Thank you, Commissioner Suthers. Commissioner Damsky.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for raising the question, Commissioner Che. I believe this question came to us through several people who attended our meetings and asked in public comments how they may serve as advisory members of some of our committees. I think it's wonderful that we have a wealth of people who want to contribute to the work of this commission and help in one way or another. And I think your points about our status as commissioners serving on this commission is that we are advisory members ourselves. This is an advisory body. So I'm not sure the answer to your question, but I did want to just acknowledge that this question came to the commission through members of the public who are looking for ways to participate. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Damsky. Vice Chair Salcedo.
Thank you again so much. So I think the question that Commissioner Chai posed, right? Like, how can people from the outside can support us, right? And the work that we need to do. And I think it's important for us to acknowledge and recognize, again, what I said earlier, that this is a collective effort, right? And we do need the support of whether it's the broader public or academics or other people. And so I guess the question is, how are we going to get these individuals involved? I know that there have been efforts through listening sessions and community forums and things of that sort. But I think it would be a good idea to have individuals who perhaps provide some advisement, right, to all of us, in whatever capacity. I think all of us are connected to community in different ways, right? And so, if we can put our heads together, I'm sure we can come up with a list of amazing individuals who will contribute and add to the work that, again, needs to happen for the betterment of all of our peoples. So I strongly support that. I'm not completely sure what the process would be. Would that be an emotion? Would that be, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not completely sure, but definitely happy to support this effort. So thank you so much for bringing this up, Commissioner Choi.
Thank you, Vice Chair Salcedo. Commissioner Levin.
Yes, I think if we could look at and certainly not ignore folks from entities that were critical in getting the commission AB 1126 legislation passed, because they're familiar with, what we are set to do. And they are representative, of our wonderful community. I have names on the tip of my tongue, but since I haven't spoken about this particular meeting, but I already had always pushed Maha El-Ghanidi to Islamic Networking Group. Commissioner, you're going to be seeing her up in the Bay Area. She's wonderful. We had folks who supported us from a variety of different groups. So I don't want to go, but Salam Al-Mariyati from MPAC, the head of AJC in LA. I mean, there's so many that were involved in getting this commission started. So I think that would be great. Folks from various bar associations that are representative of different communities, I would love to have involved, but I don't want to just have lawyers on, no offense. And there are, again, just reiterating what Commissioner Suthers said, academia, but also, and please, Human Relations Commission. By some accident, I am representing a group called CAIRO, California Association of Human Rights Organizations, but I'm really minimal with that because I'm not a human relations commissioner. So I think the Human Relations Commissions, academia, and groups that were familiar with what the commission's mission is and were very interested in seeing it formed. One other quick thing. If people are antagonistic on social media, we don't want you. Because we've seen in other places where it can really be a log in the road of trying to bring people together. But in this state, we have human relations commissions, academics, others, advocacy groups, and the folks from groups who were involved in with their support in getting this commission launched. So Commissioner Che, as always, thank you for bringing this up. And by the way, as those of us who go out in different places as commissioners, and you'll hear about people. So that's the subset of folks that I'd like to start with. One other quick thing, I'd also like to see, because we have people that are doing such great work on this commission, they can't be at commission meetings all the time. I have, but there are people here who are either running stuff for universities or working on their own boards or elected things. So one of the things I'd like us to consider is when we're looking at these people, the legislation allows us to, if we can't show, to have someone go in our stead. And I think we should look to some of these people with an eye towards that as well. And the secret sauce, I would say, is those folks, and we all know them, who bring people together across lines. That would be great as well. But thank you for the work you're doing, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner Levin. Commissioner Filer.
I've also been approached by people who would love to be on a committee or advisory role with our commission. My one concern, and I'm not sure how we would
Commissioner Filer, you went on mute.
Oh, sorry. I think that our commission right now is such a incredible balance of different perspectives, and we work well and try to work together for a common goal. And how we would select the people to be on this advisory board or to be on a committee, I just want to know and would be curious how we would do it to ensure that we maintain the incredible balance we have on it right now, and like-minded souls, and just ensuring that we maintain the integrity of the way we all work together.
Thank you, Commissioner Filer. Commissioner Cuellar.
thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Choi, for bringing this question. And yeah, that was kind of my question too. I mean, we have a well-rounded group of people on the commission, and we also already have a lot of people that come in on some of our subcommittee meetings. So my question is as well, like, if we are moving forward with getting some non-advisory committee members, how would that go? Are we going to be asking for letters of interest and then possibly all of us maybe voting for those individuals or something? I mean, I know that's something that our subcommittee is going to have to come up with a process, but you know, just maybe just getting some more ideas and opinions from the commissioners on how that would work. But I'm kind of thinking maybe letters of interest, and then those organizations could put those in, and then us at another time can go over those. But again, that's just a piece of it, right? So I know that we still have to discuss it in full detail. So just kind of throwing that out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Claire, Commissioner Suthers, and then we'll get to you, Commissioner Chang.
Yes, thank you. And I'll be very brief. I discussed this last year with Director Watts, and is there, of all the state commissions, is there a best practice process for this that they're using to onboard people that we could just borrow?
Commissioner
Can
Chang?
I go next, Chair Roga? Okay, great. Well, thank you so much. This is the reason why we are seeking your opinions, your input. Obviously, we're not prepared at this moment to make the recommendation. We wanted to get your input, and all of you raised really valid points. We will take your comments, your suggestions and concerns. One very easy thing that I would like for us to start doing is to start collecting those names of people that you feel would be an incredible resource. We are very fortunate in the state, and of course, outside of the state, to have many subject matter experts. So that's very minimally, we can start that list, and we can actually begin the process of seeking input and advice on our research, our community forums. There are so many different existing avenues that I don't think we need to wait to tap the wealth of knowledge that we have. So thank you so much, and certainly we'll be reporting back to you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Che, and thanks to all the commissioners for their input. We're going to finish the subcommittee reports, and then we'll take a break. I know some of you requested a break, so we just have a couple more. The subcommittee on recommendations for law enforcement, Commissioner Suthers, I know you are going to do a broader presentation shortly, but did you have anything else you wanted to mention here?
No, I can actually cover the report and in the broader presentation is at the same time, if you like.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Suthers. Subcommittee on community forums, Commissioner Filer.
Thank you, everyone. I'm going to do a brief report about our public forum that we had in December, and I think a lot of you were able to attend that. Again, I have to thank Marquez Equilibria for the work that he did in organizing it and connecting us with the Joan B. Kroc School of Peace. We had the forum down in San Diego. The topic was the state of hate and the impact on elected officials. We were fortunate to have the mayor of San Diego, Todd Gloria, who spoke and actually shared the incidents and way he has been impacted by hate in his role. And we also had Senator Tony Atkins attending, along with several faculty members that presented current research. I think it was a very successful public forum. I think it's unfortunate that our public officials are experiencing the level of hate that they are. And I think it's going to be something we'll follow up with. I'd like to go over some of the ideas of public forums we're going to do for next year. I think based on the comments that I've heard today, that we're right on target with the things that we're looking at doing with our public forums for next year. The one in March, we're going to look at hate, the rise of hate during elections. So I think that that's a really important one. We don't have the date yet in March, but in anticipation of our upcoming election, I think it's an important topic. The other public forums, we're going to do one in May, and we're looking to do that in Single Springs, and then we're going to do one in August or late August, September, and then in November, we're looking to do one up in Fresno. And again, our goal is to have the public forums be located in different areas across our state so that we have the opportunity to allow people from those areas to attend and also to look at unique issues that may be happening in those particular areas. Regina, I don't know if you wanted to add anything to our report at this time.
No, thank you, Cece, for the opportunity. I think you did a really great job. Again, we're still looking for those dates, and I know that's something that we need to get to you guys as soon as possible, just so we can get those on the calendars. So we will work at our next meeting to do that. But no, I think you went over everything. Thank you, Cece.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Commissioner Filer. Thank you, Commissioner Claire. Back to you, Commissioner Suthers.
Yes, thank you, Chair Robo, and my apologies. There is one item, we've met twice during this month on the 4th and 18th of January, and there's one item that's come up in our meetings, at both meetings. And it's related to hate speech at public meetings, and I'd just like to share something that we did discuss as a committee. For those people that are out there, particularly elected officials that are experiencing this, there is a stalking statute that might be pursued if they are victims of this. As you probably know, a number of law enforcement agencies in the state are collecting hate incidents. And hate incidents are short of hate crimes, and I'll just describe what's written in one statute that we have. Hate incidents include, but are not limited to, epithets, distribution of hate material in public places, posting of hate material on public property that does not result in property damage, and a display of hate material on one's own property. For those people that are electeds or commissioners or serve in roles, this is where it becomes particularly interesting, and we discussed this, that however, over an extended period of time, if a person directs numerous bigoted, biased, or prejudiced statements to the same person, such a pattern of conduct could rise to the level of unlawful criminal harassment or stalking under certain state laws, including but not limited to California Penal Code Section 646.9. So that is something we've discussed twice this month. I don't know that there are any cases out there. I know law enforcement agencies are just started collecting hate incidents. And we've been pushing forward on this collection, particularly since the attack on October 7th, because it's becoming pretty prevalent. But because it did come up twice in our meetings, I thought at least that particular item that we discussed this month was worth sharing. And thank you, Chair, for your consideration.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Suthers, for pointing that out. There is no report from the subcommittee on funding, so we'll move to public comment. Monica, or is there any public comment on this part of the agenda?
Yes, we have a comment from Greg Deshier.
Hi, Greg. Welcome. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. As you know, I work with the California, the ARC of California, a developmental intellectual disabilities group. The disability community is quite used to tokenism. You make it one person on a committee or a board. In the case of this commission, we don't even have that, of course. So I would really urge you to open the subcommittees to multiple representatives of different segments of the disability community. That we talk about sometimes the disability community as if it's monolithic, when in fact people with autism, people with mental illness, people who are seniors who may have dementia, people with physical disabilities all have quite different and for that, and the families of those people all have quite different and to them and their families quite urgent problems with assaults and hate of various kinds. So I would just urge you, and of course, our community overlaps with every other community. There are every racial, ethnic, religious, gender, sexual orientation community has its share of all of those segments of the disability community. So I would just urge you to please open it up to all of us.
Thank you, Greg, for your comment. Monica, I think we have one more public comment.
Yes, one more from Sean Gilbert.
Hello, Sean, welcome. You have 3 minutes.
Good morning. Thank you so much, commissioners, for all this wonderful work. And I appreciate each of you for what you bring to the table. And I love the diversity I see here. So thank you for highlighting that earlier. I also want to thank Commissioner Suthers for discussing remedies, because as I listened to Commissioner Levin's incredible report, an update from the previous report that he had given about the rise across our nation, and in addition to here in our state, of people who are intolerant, it seems that we need more ways of helping people learn, because it seems there's a severe lack of knowledge on the part of many people in our society here in our country. And I'm wondering what, and I'm thinking that Commissioner Choi's discussion with bringing people not part of the commission but others from beyond, their ideas, and reaching out to others who deal with human behavior. But it seems that we need to really address what is happening that is causing this amazing rise. And I leave it to you as those who are more in the know than me. But that is one of my big thoughts on much of everything that was shared today. I don't know if it means that there could be some sort of statewide public service announcements, because when people see things repeatedly, we can see shifts, whether it's towards hatred or towards kindness and open-heartedness. So I don't know if that's through radio announcements or Caltrans signs. When people are driving, they just see these quick statements that can fill their mind while they're driving or listening. So those are my thoughts. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Sean, for your public comment. We are done with this section of the agenda. We are going to take a break because we've been at it for nearly 2 hours. So we'll take a 5-minute break and convene just before 11 a.m. So be back just before 11 so that we can finish up our agenda. Thanks, everyone. Welcome back, everyone. I see Commissioner Levin, Commissioner Che, Commissioner Cuellar, Commissioner Southers. It's like Romper Room. Does everyone remember Romper?
The Brady Bunch.
I used to know the whole song. Romper, Stomper, Romper. Used to love that show. I see mostly everyone back except for Vice Chair Salcedo. Well, let's go ahead and get started. The next item on our agenda is the discussion and election of chair. Deputy Director Watts, are you going to go over the procedure for this, or would you like me to?
Sure, I can take it from here. That's good. Sound good? So what I'll do is go over the procedure, but then I did want to have a discussion about whether we wanted to move forward with the elections, given that not all commissioners are here, or wait for the next meeting. So just a real quick overview. Just a reminder, what does the chair do? So here's the responsibilities of the chair. I know it's been maybe a year since we last discussed this, but the chair coordinates regularly with the senior advisor, which is myself, to stay abreast of day-to-day operations of the commission, establish meeting protocols, set the schedule, and agendas. The chair also manages each meeting of the commission, which I'm sure we're all well aware of. This includes prioritizing, moving, and removing agenda items as needed. The commission chair must also familiarize themselves with Robert's Rules of Order in order to apply them during meetings. The chair also represents the commission before external entities as necessary, or delegates another commissioner to represent the commission. The chair is also responsible for ensuring the commission is in compliance with applicable laws and regulations and policies, including the Bagley-Keene Act and the Public Records Act. And upon a majority vote of the commission may expand the authority of the chair. Now, I think actually maybe this is a good time to pause. So I think we have 8 of the 9 commissioners present in the meeting today. Commissioner Sinar is not here. It is up to this commission whether we want to go ahead and proceed with a vote, knowing that she will not be able to vote in the election. If we don't proceed with it, we can try to find another meeting time that works for all commissioners. We can try to get all 9 in the room so everyone gets a chance to vote, or we can just go ahead and hold the vote. I'm going to start by perhaps opening this up to discussion and seeing if there's a consensus here. If not, we could also just vote on how to proceed. So Commissioner Damsky, it looks like your hand is raised.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Watts. I'm looking at my schedule and I won't be able to attend our next meeting. I think given the fact that we may have one or more commissioners absent at any meeting, I don't know that it's important or valuable to reschedule, but that's my input. I'm happy to see us have a vote today.
Thank you. Commissioner Southers?
Thank you. I concur with Commissioner Damsky. I do have a question. I understand a member interested in being chair must first announce their willingness to be chair. And in as much as Commissioner Sinar is not here, do we know if she's interested in being chair?
I don't know one way or another. And I just want to underscore that if the commission did want to delay the vote, we're happy to try to find a time that works for everyone. And we would go ahead and reschedule the February meeting, or perhaps even just hold a quick meeting for an election. We can always do that. But it's to make sure that everyone can be here. But of course, anything can happen, and it's possible people get sick or other things come up, and we won't be able to get all 9. So it's really, you can go either way. Let's see, Chair Roybal.
I think we should proceed. Because of what Commissioner Damsky brought up, that Commissioner Damsky won't be at the next meeting, and trying to find a time outside of that is been a little bit of a struggle for everyone to participate in. So, and I believe that our rules say that it has to be done at the first meeting of the year, which is this meeting. So we'd have to overrule that.
Thank you. Commissioner Filer.
I concur with everyone. I think we should move forward with the election. Maybe we should move into do we need a vote to proceed with the election?
No, I just want to kind of see if there might be a consensus here. I guess the question is, does anybody disagree that we should move forward? Okay, then we will move forward. Okay, sorry, excuse me, another reminder, the chair will serve until the first meeting of 2025. The process for nomination is as follows. So step 1, as Commissioner Suthers reminded us, is that a member interested in being chair must first announce their willingness to be chair. So we'll proceed with that step in a moment. Thereafter, members can be nominated by another member to be eligible to receive votes for chair. A member may not nominate themselves. A member may nominate more than one candidate. And also, if agreed upon by a majority of the members present here today, a candidate may give a short 1-minute statement explaining why they should be elected. I'll go over the election procedure as well. During the vote, members may vote for only one member. If no member receives greater than 50% of the vote, we have a runoff. So we'll have a second round of voting between the top 2 nominees who received the greatest number of votes in the first round. The candidate with the most votes becomes chair and assumes duties at the end of this meeting. In the event of a tie, and we do have an even number of commissioners here today, the CRD director or their delegate shall break the tie at this meeting or in the next publicly noticed meeting. I also want to flag that we are going to hold vice chair elections after this, and the process is exactly the same. But maybe just keep that in mind as you think about nominating or running for chair. Okay, and I think we are ready to go. So we will proceed with the nomination process. So step 1 is that a member interested in being chair must first announce their willingness to be chair. So the question, of course, is who would be interested in becoming chair? Okay. I see 3 raised hands, Vice Chair Salcedo, Chair Roybal, and Commissioner Levin. Assuming the raised hand is an expression of interest.
I guess I have a question, like a point of clarification, in terms of, I guess, do we put names of, like for people to be chairs? I guess the question I also have, if Chair Roybal is interested in continuing to be the chair, because I think a chair can run for another term. So I guess that was my question. I wanted to see what that is. So it wasn't to be a chair yet. I just needed to ask a question.
Oh, sorry. So just to make sure I understand, Vice Chair Salcedo, you're asking if Chair Roybal is planning to is interested in becoming chair again. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Chair Roybal.
Yes, the answer to that is yes, Vice Chair Salcedo.
And Commissioner Levin, do you have a question or are you interested in becoming chair?
You're on mute, Commissioner Levin.
Sure, I'd like to hear from others though who may run.
Okay, Vice Chair Salcedo.
So, what I would say is that I am sure Commissioner Levin, you will be an amazing and incredible chair, right? But I think the reason why I asked to see if Chair Roybal would want to continue to be a chair is because this has been our first year for us together, and it's sort of like we're warming up to get to finalize, I would say, well, anyway, I'm not gonna say finalize, but to continue the work, right, that needs to happen. And so I think it only makes sense to me that we continue to have Chair Roybal to be the chair so that we can, continue to do the work that needs to happen. I just feel like the year went by so quickly, and I think there's still more work that could be led by Chair Roybal.
Thank you, Commissioner Sluthers.
And thank you, Vice Chair, for the point of clarification. You actually answered my question. I didn't realize that a chair could stay. I'm president of another commission, and when your term is up, you step down. So having said that, that kind of alters my plans for nominations. I was only nominating because I thought we had to, because the chair had to step off. So I would agree with the Vice Chair in the interest of sustainability here. I think that that's a good idea, and I'm just sharing my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Damsky.
Thank you. I would really like to hear from the two candidates before we start speaking on behalf of one or the other. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a good point. Why don't we just go ahead and proceed with the process? There are opportunities for the candidate to give a presentation and for commissioner discussion later on. Okay, so
Wondering if anybody else is not interested in being the chair? I guess that's the other question.
Commissioner Damsky's hand is raised.
I'm not interested in being chair, but I would really love to see some of the women in our commission step up if they are able. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well then I will move on to step 2, and I believe I just have Commissioner Levin and Chair Roybal interested, but last chance for anyone else. Okay, so we will go to 2. Would anyone like to nominate a member to be eligible to receive votes for the chair? Commissioner Damsky?
I would like to nominate Commissioner Levin. I appreciate the work that we've had under the guidance of our current chair. I'm a strong believer in rotating leadership. And for that reason, I would like to see us have a new chair for this coming year of our commission.
Thank you. Commissioner Cuellar?
I nominate Chair Roybal, Commissioner Roybal.
Thank you. Okay, great. So both candidates who expressed interest have been nominated. Now, if agreed upon, we're going to go ahead and skip to step 4. If agreed upon by a majority of the members present, a candidate may give a short statement explaining why they should be elected. Does anybody oppose giving the candidates an opportunity to give that statement? Okay, great. Why don't we go ahead and start with you, Commissioner Levin. You'll have 1 minute to give that statement.
Thank you so much. Look, everybody here could do well. Commissioner Roybal, I'm thankful for what you've done. And I'm at your service either way. But I do think there's a unique timing aspect here. we have an election year coming up. We're looking at a very divisive time. And I do believe in rotation. There was nothing when we were planning the commission, but it was kind of understood because I do believe that representation is important. And I think it was very special that we had someone that good, but who was also representing a community that was really being targeted. This year, we have a change in targeting, unfortunately. But I don't want to speak as a Jew. I want to speak to something that Reverend King said about our loyalties must transcend our race, our tribe, our class, and our nation. And it means we must develop a world perspective. So there's these different levels of solidarity, right? And that's what I think we have to show, right? So when the governor wasn't gay, but he pushed for marriage equality, I think it's so important, this solidarity. So no matter what happens, I'm going to be with everybody. But I do think that at this time.
Thank you, Commissioner Levin. That was 1 minute.
Oh, okay. Thank
you. And then Chair Roybal.
Thank you, Deputy Director Watts, and fellow commissioners, and Commissioner Cuellar for your nomination. I want to echo what Commissioner Levin said. I, of course, will support whatever the commission decides, and will make sure, if I'm not the one that is elected chair, a smooth transition of leadership. But what I will say is that I feel like there's still work to be done that I would like to do, and to continue to lead the commission in getting it off the ground and running. I think that we've made some good progress together, but I still believe there is more work to be done. And I'm excited to get to continue to work with all of you and be in solidarity with all of you. And I would appreciate being able to be chair for another year. So thank you.
Thank you, Chair Roybal. Before we take a vote, actually, we will open this up to commissioner discussion. Any discussion among commission members? Commissioner Filer?
Yes, I believe both the commissioners that are looking to lead our commission would be excellent. I actually am a believer that it's good to, in any chair position, have somebody in that role for more than 1 year. I feel like your first year is a learning curve. Your second year, you really have the opportunity to develop your leadership. So I'm just putting that out there, that just from my experience on other boards and other areas, I've seen that sometimes it's really valuable to have somebody in a 2 to 3 year term. So that's all I'll say. But both candidates would be superb.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, fantastic. We will move on to public comment. I do not see any public comment. Monica, is that right?
That is correct. No public comment at this time.
Fantastic. All right, then we will move on to voting. So just a reminder, you may vote for only one member. If no member receives greater than 50% of the vote, we go to a runoff, and the CRD director or their delegate shall break a tie in the event of a tie. So let's proceed. Let me find my pen. Oh, here it is. Okay, so I'll go ahead and read the roll. Let me know, Commissioner Levin or Chair Roybal. Chair Roybal.
Commissioner Roybal.
Okay. Vice Chair Salcedo.
Chair Roybal to continue to be chair.
Commissioner Che.
Chair Roybal.
Commissioner Cuellar.
Chair Roybal.
Commissioner Damsky.
Commissioner Levin.
Commissioner Filer.
Chair Roybal.
Commissioner Levin,
Commissioner Levin, thank you.
Commissioner Sinar. Oh, he's not here. And Commissioner Suthers.
Chair Royball.
Okay, so it looks like we have 6 votes for Chair Roybal to be chair for another year, and 2 votes for Commissioner Levin. So we have our new chair. Thank you, everyone. Now we will move
Congratulations.
on. Congratulations, of course. The discussion and election of vice chair. Just a reminder about the responsibilities of the vice chair. The vice chair assists the chair with fulfilling their duties, including fulfilling tasks delegated by the chair. They also serve as chair if the chair is unable to do so. As a result, it is important for the vice chair to familiarize themselves with Robert's Rules of Order and applicable laws, regulations, and policies, including the Bagley-Keene Act and the Public Records Act. The vice chair, the term of the vice chair is identical to the chair, and they will serve until the first meeting of 2025. The nomination procedure is identical. We start with anybody announcing their interest in being vice chair. Thereafter, members nominate. They can nominate more than one person, but you may not nominate yourself. And they may also give a short statement. So we'll start with step 1. Is anybody interested in being vice chair for this upcoming year? Vice Chair Salcedo has your hand raised. Is that a question or interest?
It's an interest.
Fantastic. Is anybody else interested in becoming vice chair, excuse me? Oh, Commissioner Levin, your hand is raised. That is an expression of interest? Or
Sure, I'd like to see more people though try to be vice chair as well, if that's okay.
No worries. I'm gonna write that down. Okay, I will move on to step 2, unless anybody else is interested. Okay, fantastic. Step 2, members may nominate another member. Would anybody like to nominate Vice Chair Salcedo for vice chair again?
I'll nominate Vice Chair Salcedo.
Okay, thank you. Would anybody like to nominate Commissioner Levin?
I'd like to nominate Commissioner Levin.
Fantastic. So we have nominations for both. Okay, and I assume everyone is okay with candidates giving a short statement explaining why they should be elected. Okay, well, why don't we start with, let's see, Commissioner Levin, you gotta go first last time. We'll do Vice Chair Salcedo.
Okay, well, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. I want to thank all the commissioners who supported my election last year to be a vice chair of this body. I have learned a great deal, and I also feel that I still need to continue to learn more. But I also want to say that, this role is not easy for people. And I'm just so honored and grateful that I have had the opportunity to be a vice chair alongside with Chair Roybal. So I hope that you think I have been worthy of being in this position, and hopefully you think that I can continue one more time, because I also feel like there's more work that we can do together in collaboration with Chair Roybal. So thank you again so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Commissioner Levin.
Hi, thank you. And Bambi, I thought you're great. So no matter what, everyone's got my undeniable support. I do think I offer a couple of things. First of all, I think I'm the only one that had perfect attendance, including the community forums, which is critical. Additionally, I think I have an alacrity across research and academia, law, grassroots networking, particularly at this time, and with regard to interfaith, something that my old center, we were involved with for decades. And I think now is that time. The other thing, remember, if the chair can't make it, we have to have someone who can be in there. So no matter how it goes, I admire and have great affection for you all. Would be happy to serve in any capacity, but I think in this one, my time, which I have, I think more than some folks, and the alacrity across these different skill sets and networking abilities, I think now is unfortunately a time for that. And thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Levin. Okay, now we will open it up to, or actually I'll go over the election procedure. We'll do commission discussion, we'll do public comment, then we'll come back and hold the election. Just a reminder, the election procedure is exactly the same. You may vote for only one member. We will have a runoff if no candidate receives greater than 50% of the vote, which will not happen because we only have 2 candidates. So any commissioner discussion? Commissioner Damsky.
Thank you. I think Commissioner Levin raised some really good points about his candidacy and what he brings to the table. I really appreciate the fact that he has attended every single meeting. That's more than I've done, although I really try to attend every meeting. I like the idea of bringing another element to the leadership of our commission and another voice, another perspective. I really appreciate Commissioner Levin's deep dive into the data, which is available to us at any time. And for all of those reasons, I support him. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional discussion? Great. Oh, sorry, Chair Roybal.
I would just say it's been a pleasure to work with Vice Chair Salcedo over the last year and to be able to rely on her expertise and leadership. And no matter the outcome of the vice chair election, I'll be delighted to work with either person.
Thank you. Okay, now we will move on to public comment. Monica, do we have any public comments?
No public comment at this time.
Okay, thank you so much. Now we will move on to the election. Just a reminder, you may vote for only one member. I will go ahead and call the roll. When I call your name, please announce whether you're voting for Vice Chair Salcedo or Commissioner Levin. Chair Roybal.
Vice Chair Salcedo.
Okay. Vice Chair Salcedo.
Vice Chair Salcedo.
Commissioner Shea.
Vice Chair Salcedo.
Commissioner Cuellar.
Vice Chair Salcedo.
Commissioner Damsky.
Commissioner Levin.
Commissioner Filer.
Vice Chair Salcedo.
Thank you. Commissioner Levin.
Commissioner Levin.
Thank you. Commissioner Sanar. Commissioner Suthers.
Vice Chair Salcedo.
Okay. Okay, so we have 2 votes for Commissioner Levin and 6 votes for Vice Chair Salcedo. Congratulations, Vice Chair Salcedo. You will be Vice Chair for until the next meeting in 2025. First meeting in 2025, excuse me. Okay.
Congratulations.
Commissioner Levin, feel free to. Did you have a comment?
Yes. I want to offer my heartiest congratulations to both our chair and vice chair. You know, there's a bigger victory, and the bigger victory is for our state. We almost didn't have this commission, and to see the diversity and to see the effort and varying skill sets that everyone brings to this table, I just want to say, you have my unyielding support, Chair Roybal, Vice Chair Salcedo. You have my unyielding support, and what a privilege it is to serve with every single one of you. And also, Commissioner, have the folks from LA contact me about this speaking gig in LA, because I need more information on it. But thank you so much to all the commissioners. We have something that is the envy of the nation. I really do play on the field with the California Angels. Thank you so much. It is an honor to serve in any capacity that my fellow commissioners deem appropriate. Thank you so much. And just heartfelt congratulations to two wonderful people who I have such admiration and affection for, and anything I can do, you know how to get me.
Thank you, Commissioner Levin.
Okay,
All right.
well, thank you, everyone. I think we're ready to move on. Thank you. Yeah, back to you, Chair Roybal.
Chair Salcedo, did you have, I see your hand is raised as
Okay.
well.
Yes, thank you so much. I want to once again express my gratitude and appreciation for believing in me and believing in us. I think that, you know, again, I'm gonna repeat what I said like 3 times already during this meeting, right? Like, this is a collective effort, right? And Commissioner Levine, I want for you to know that I personally, and I'm sure, you know, this commission appreciates you as an individual, but also your work and what you bring to the table. And so I know that there's going to be opportunities for all of us to continue to do this work in whatever capacity. And I can wait to see what the next year's leadership is going to look like. And again, I'm so appreciative for the opportunity and for all of you to really not just believe in me, but also believe in the leadership of trans people, right? Because this is precedence, right? And I'm just grateful that that you know you are part of this, that you're part of me, and that you're part of the great work that we're all doing together. So thank you again so much for the opportunity to be here and be in community with all of you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Salcedo. And I want to extend my congratulations to you and thank you to all the rest of the commissioners for putting your faith and trust in me as chair for the next year. I also want to thank Commissioner Levin for his continued leadership on the commission and providing the valuable information that is critical to the work that we do. So thank you very much, Commissioner Levin. And I will just say that I think many of you know that I was considering last spring whether I was going to stay in California or my job opportunities were going to take me elsewhere. And one of the things I settled on was I wanted to find a role that I could do either remote from California or to be able to stay in California, mostly driven by the work of this commission. It is that important to me. And being back and being in my home state has been not only I mean, I don't think I have the words to describe how important and meaningful that is to me. And you probably hear the emotion in my voice around it to be able to serve the people of my home state of California. So thank you. And I look forward to continuing to lead our commission over the next year. Commissioner Levin, I see your hand up.
Yes, I just wanted to congratulate you as well. Look, this is really important. And I'm so glad that both of you stepped up. There are gay kids and trans kids that are facing horrible bigotry from people that should have no place in public service. Your positioning of chair and vice chair is such a meaningful representation. And I want to let you know that I stand in solidarity with you. This commission, which we almost didn't get past, I'm the biggest winner in the world today. there were so many fingerprints on this, on the folks that worked to put this in, and I was lucky enough to be the only one on that to get here. And I'm going to tell you something. The fact that both of you have served this state so admirably, I'm the biggest winner in the world today. It ain't a personal thing, because it's so important for solidarity that we stand together with our LGBTQ brothers and sisters who are suffering so immensely because there are irresponsible people involved in civic dialogue. So I want to let you know, I stand with you, but I also stand with all those who are suffering and who are in grief, whether they're Jewish, Palestinian, Israeli, any group that is out there that is suffering. And I want to let you know that is not only an honor to have both of you, but I want you to look around this Zoom panel. What an incredible thing that the legislature and the governor did for this state. And I also would be remiss. Thank you so much, Civil Rights Department, for giving folks who have this capacity to lead this opportunity. We all know on this commission, we stand on CRD's shoulders, and just that, thank you, every commissioner that participated, and let's roll up our sleeves. We have people to protect, and we are going to do so well with the leadership we have. And it sends a message that here in California, if you're LGBTQ plus, you're a kid somewhere, guess what? You're the best of California too. So bless you all. It's heartfelt. This is a wonderful thing that the CRD and this commission is doing for this state. It ain't going for this, wasn't personal. Making sure that someone who cared, and we got two of the best. California should be proud. I am proud of not only two of you, but every commissioner, and that's sincere and heartfelt. Thank you all, and CRD, bless you too behind the scenes. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Levin. That is a great segue to move to our next agenda item, which is to talk about the work that our wonderful subcommittee on law enforcement is doing. And so I want to now move into the discussion of the content of the law enforcement training with Commissioners Damsky and Suthers. I do just want to make a note that I may have to hop off right at the top of the hour. If I do, then Commissioner Salcedo, Vice Chair Salcedo will take over chairing the meeting. And I want to thank in advance Commissioners Suthers and Damsky. I know that you have spent many hours working on this, and I think all of us are excited to hear about what your plan is. It's all yours.
Well, thank you, Chair Roybal, and I believe Commissioner Damsky, we divided this up, and I believe I was going to pivot to you for AB 449 as the expert in that space.
Okay, I'm looking at a different report then. Where are we? Oh, we're talking about the January 18 meeting. Were you going to start with speaking on the January 4th meeting?
Uh-oh. Yeah, the January 18th meeting on the post-video training content.
Yes, I'm looking at our subcommittee report, which starts with the January 4th meeting.
Yeah, I covered that earlier.
Okay, there we go. So Commissioner Suthers and I, and thank you for the clarification.
That's okay.
We have been meeting for several months, talking about creating a video to train law enforcement officials throughout the state about a new law that was signed into law by our governor last fall called AB 449, which requires the reporting of hate crimes and hate incidents. There is a special form that goes with these reporting requirements, which will be, those forms will be housed with our Attorney General. And so what Commissioner Suthers and I have been working on is creating a training for law enforcement officials as a kind of like a continuing education training to learn about what is this new law, what are the requirements, How do they comply with those requirements? Where does this new form live? And what are the requirements also for each of these law enforcement agencies to provide training to their officers? So that is the basis of what it is that we've been working on. We have so part of this includes talking about what are hate crimes? How can they be identified? Why does reporting them matter? What is the difference between a hate crime and a hate incident? Because this law will require reporting of both. Talks about the importance of collecting this data and what to ask, what law enforcement officials should be asking when they collect this evidence. Things like what was said, was anything actually done? Were you physically injured, or was there a particular comment that made you think it was an element of hate involved in the incident? We'll also be talking about how to respond to acts of hate that are not hate crimes, and highlighting why capturing those incidents matter. We'll be talking about effective engagement with communities targeted for hate before and after hate incidents, what to say and not say following a hate crime or incident, how for law enforcement to develop relationships outside of crisis situations, ahead of crisis situations, to establish trust and relationships in those communities so that when something does happen, the support network is there. We'll be talking about the importance of sharing resources for people who are targeted for hate. For example, our California versus hate that we talked about earlier today. In California, is required for law enforcement officials to share these resources when responding to hate crimes for Penal Code Section 422.92. And we will be emphasizing why it's important for both victims to report to the police and also to investigate. So it's a wide umbrella of things we're trying to include, and this is the laugh line in a 15-minute video. So and I believe that leaves it for you to discuss the next part. Is that correct, Commissioner Suthers?
Sure. And again, I just want to mention that working with California Post has been very, very good, mostly due to Director Monroe and others. If you don't know, California Post Peace Officer Standards and Training does the training for all law enforcement in the state. I have to say, if you look at all 50 states, it is a leader in the space with regards to training. The most important part of this in training law enforcement, police officers are typically only in 3 different modes in their career. They're either working, at training, or off duty. And that training takes up a lot of time. And departments will not devote officers to training unless they're reimbursed for those hours because they have to backfill those spots. So that's why this is so important. We're going to be doing a video that no matter how long it takes for them to engage in it, departments won't have to worry about backfilling time as we go on, getting them to train through this program. The other challenge we have is trying to get a foothold on what officers in the state of California are being trained on as it relates to hate. If you talk to 5 different departments, you'll get 5 different answers. So that's a real challenge we have as a subcommittee. I want to say we have a list of confirmed attendees for the training in February. We're going to be in Carlsbad for 3 days. And I'll just read the organizations that are represented. We have AAPI Director for External Affairs. We have a civil rights advocate from the ARC of California. We have the ADL of Los Angeles. We have at least 1 police chief. We had the Director Associate General Counsel for Civil Rights and for META, who I happen to know. She was also used to serve on the Matthew Shepard Foundation. And then, of course, we have our rock star, Becky Monroe, who's going to be part of that team as well. So we're very excited about this. They're going to have a script for us, I do believe. We'll be able to do this over 3 days. And once that's put together, I would assume that there'll be a whole process of editing and things like that. I don't know that any other agency in the country has done anything like this. But again, I think it's a real great inaugural effort. And this could lead to other trainings and other spaces for your respective subcommittees going forward. So just keep that in mind as we talk about policy, as we talk about other things. if you want to get out to at least the law enforcement community, this is the state organization that can do it. And they're very supportive. We had some great conversations. They never said no to us. I just want to say that. It was just more of a, how can we get this done? And so that's where we are. And I'll just open it up for any questions. Commissioner Levin.
Yeah, hi. Thank you so much for doing this. And he's doing it at like personal sacrifice too, just so folks know. If we could, if I could coordinate with Alec about some of the previously done federal resources that they may or may not have. I was on a previous incarnation of this. You know, just let me know. And again, just thank you so much for doing this. I know how extended you are. And as I told you privately, at your service. So just, you know, let me know. There have been a variety of things. So maybe, you know, you won't have to work so hard to reinvent the wheel, especially in that short time. IACP did something some years ago, but there are a variety of different things from FLETC, as well as from some DOJ contracts. So just we'll discuss things through Alec, I think, is how we'll do it. But thank you so much for doing this, and say hi to basically everyone there for me when you go.
Well, no, thank you. And again, Director Watts was the reason that we were able to get these meetings together. We had a lot of meetings with a lot of people, but like I said, it was a team effort, and we were never met with a "we can't do it." It was more of a matter of how can we do it. So,
and thank you to Commissioner Damsky, who has done just wonderful work. I don't get to thank these people, just so the public knows. I don't get to thank them because we don't get to talk so much. So Commissioner Damsky, thank you. And also Chair Roybal, we are definitely going to have a celebratory dinner for you in San Diego, where we will follow all the rules of discussing everything but the commission.
I'm going to go to Commissioner Cuellar and then Commissioner Salcedo. Commissioner Cuellar.
Thank you, Commissioner Southers. My question is for the post-training now. Our tribal officers, I know my tribal officers, some do go to post trainings, but some tribal communities do not send a lot of their officers to post for you know, different reasons. So would this training be available to tribal police as well?
Absolutely. And another one of the reasons that we're doing this is an online training. So unless they don't have resources for technology, and if they don't, we can certainly talk about that. This will be available to all agencies throughout the state. That's a great question. Thank you.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. That's great. Thank you.
Commissioner, Vice Chair Salcedo.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to take a quick moment to really appreciate and thank Commissioner Damsky and also Commissioner Southers for, you know, all this work that has happened in this committee, and particularly, you know, as it relates to law enforcement, right? We know that there's some mistrust from communities towards law enforcement, and, you know, this is definitely a testament to in some ways try to rebuild, you know, or repair some of the damage that has happened. And certainly, you know, training it's an amazing step forward into making sure that we continue to rebuild that. So thank you again so much for that.
Well, Vice Chair, your comments are really heartfelt. And if I could just share personally for a couple of seconds here, as someone who certainly has been victimized by police misconduct growing up, had a conversation with my father one time, and after complaining one day, said, you know, you can't change the castle from outside the moat. So here I am 3 law enforcement agencies later trying to be part of the change that I wanted to see, and this is an opportunity to do it. So thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Chair Roybal, I'm sorry, Director Watts, that's all we have. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Damsky.
Yes, I'd like to add a few things. I think these were said in our previous commission meetings, just to give you an update about where we are in the timeline for putting this video together. We have our first series of meetings over a period of 3 days with post at the end of February, 1st of March, where we will be creating an outline scripts with these community leaders, law enforcement agencies that Commissioner Sellers mentioned a few minutes ago. We will bring the work product from those meetings back to the commission for your input, your stamp of approval, hopefully. And then the filming is supposed to be starting the end of April, early May. So each of these sessions are 2.5 to 3 days apiece. So a lot of work that's going to happen on the front end of this, and I look forward to seeing the product on the end.
And thank you, Commissioner Dempsey, for those details, because you had the dates better in mind than I did. So I appreciate that. And with that, Director Watts, I believe that we're concluded there unless there are any other questions.
Yeah, I think that was it. I do just want to remind commissioners that this is the opportunity to really provide feedback on the potential topics for the training. It's only 15 minutes, but we do have ambitious plans for what we want to include in that 15 minutes. So if there's anything in particular that you want to make sure that is in there, now would be the time to voice that.
Any further comments or feedback for the subcommittee? Commissioner Levin.
Please, please, please highlight those that are not represented here. That's right. We're representative, but we're also need to provide representation. Undocumented people, disabled people, people who have language barriers. Please, honestly, if there was one thing that I was going to try and do as a chair or a vice chair or anything else, it's let's make sure that we're making sure that law enforcement knows undocumented, disabled people, immigrants, people with English as not as their first language, because it's going to get rough this year. And so thank you. But, I don't have to tell you, you all know, but, sometimes because we get together in groups, we look at, the folks that are here. We're 9 folks, but we have 40 million people. There are a lot of people that need our help that aren't getting through, and the homeless. They're being murdered, and a lot of those folks are people of color and also LGBTQ. So touch on that intersectionality as well. But again, I know you already know it, but there are folks that come to me and they say, look, when we go out into little things, I talk to sometimes groups of 20 people, 50, whatever. Their voice counts too. So we could, and it's a tough run with law enforcement sometimes, because they're put in sometimes conflictual positions with innocent people who are being whose voices aren't being heard, the ones that aren't picked up by hate crime, but also those that may not be covered by our current law. The homeless are not covered, and they're being murdered. We just saw that in LA recently. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Levin. Is there any public comment on this item?
No public comment at this time.
All right, thank you. Let's move on to commission member announcements. If you do have an announcement, please use the raise hand feature on Zoom and I will call on you. Seeing no announcements, let's move on to public comment on items not on the agenda. Marquez, if you are still on, I know you wanted to talk about CREW, the Community Conflict Resolution Unit. If you could come off mute and do that.
Thank you, commissioners. I wanted to highlight for our public participants that one of our great resources in the California Civil Rights Department is our Community Conflict Resolution Unit. Our mission is to promote peaceful relations by assisting communities experiencing fear, conflict, or tensions relating to discriminatory practices, hate incidents, or hate crimes that have a community impact. Our services are free, confidential, and impartial. We design and facilitate conflict resolution processes to provide a space where stakeholders can work together. We mediate, we provide consultations, and provide training and develop educational materials. You all can learn more about us through the California Civil Rights Department page, or you can email us directly at crew, that's ccru@calcivilrights.ca.gov. On the issue of education, I wanted to give everyone a heads up that we are developing a student resource guide for college and university students in response to heightened tensions on campuses. The guide provides information to help students understand some of their options, how they can respond to some of the concerns of hate and discrimination, as well as introduce them to concepts that can help them respond to issues and concerns they've been seeing on their campus. We expect the guide to be completed and published by the beginning of March. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marquez. And that information is also in the chat. Let's move on to public comment I'm not on the agenda. Is there any other public comment for items not on the agenda?
Yes, we have one comment from Greg Desir.
Hi again, Greg. You have 3 minutes. Welcome.
Thank you. I know there's been a reluctance to give the legislature advice on legislation, which is hard for me to grasp since that's the body that's elected to make those decisions. Once again, this year there's going to be at least one major bill having to do with hate crimes that I'm sure the author and the supporters would appreciate support on. And the issue that it addresses is the one that Commissioner Choi raised several meetings ago of in relation to the Atlanta murders, that the assailant targeted Asian-owned massage businesses. In the course of getting around to them in order to commit his assault, he drove right past other massage businesses that were not Asian-owned, completely ignoring them, concentrating only on Asian-owned, and most of the individuals he assaulted were Asian also, and the ones who were not were working for Asian-owned businesses, so they were by association, they were, and under California law anyway, they would be considered victims they might be considered victims because of their association with a protected characteristic. Nonetheless, under federal law, no one was charged with a hate crime in that case. Probably correctly under federal law, because the as I understand it, there was no expression of bias. The murderer did not make any Asian statements. His actions spoke. This bill, which Assemblyman Evan Lowe is introducing, will make discriminatory selection of victims based on a protected characteristic part of the definition of bias that makes a crime a hate crime. And I would hope that the Commission would consider that seriously.
Thank you, Greg, for your public comment. Are there any other public comments on items not on the agenda? Commissioner Levin, do you have your hand up? No other items, Monica?
Yeah, just clarification. Fulton County charged a hate crime. Cherokee County did not. In Georgia. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification. No other public comment, Monica?
No other public comment. No other public comment.
All right, thank you. Just a reminder, our next item is future agenda items. If you have future agenda items that you would like to suggest for the commission meetings, please email those to myself and or Deputy Director Watts, and we will take those under consideration for calendaring for future commission meetings. It is now 11:59 a.m. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Chair.
Moved by Commissioner Damsky, seconded by Commissioner Levin. All those in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
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 Thank you, everyone. We are adjourned at 11:59 a.m. Thank you, everyone, for your time today and your rich and substantive discussion. I look forward to our continued work together.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Good
A
evening,
beautiful week.
everyone. Thank you.